Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking through a couple player props I like over on Prizepicks for the Week 1 college football slate. We're going to be talking about the full Saturday slate, so we're going to have some props to choose from here. We got a lot of games on Saturday. I did make a video for Thursday's games, made a video for Friday's games, but now this is where we've got all our props to choose from. A ton of games on Saturday. I've got 3 plays that we're going to talk about in this video that I do like for Saturday, and as always, we're going to break down these 3 plays, talk through why I like them. Now, before we do get started, make sure you guys hit that like button down below. If you do enjoy these Prizepicks videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to Prizepicks and if you don't have an account over on Prizepicks, be sure to sign up. Use promo code NOAH. When you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code, place your first lineup. You'll instantly get $50 in promo funds added to your account. Whether you win or lose that lineup, Prizepicks will add $50 in promo funds to your account that you can then use towards additional entries, additional lineups, and if you win those lineups with those promo funds, that pays out in credit. So that's money that you can then withdraw. So check out Prizepicks, guys, if you haven't yet. Do want to shout out Prizepicks because they do have a free square available for Saturday's games. Jalen Milroe's pass yards prop is set at 0.5. This is a free pick Prizepicks is giving you that you can use towards any lineup that you want. You can use it for games on Saturday. I'm actually making this video on Friday night, so they still have props up for Friday's games. We'll see how Friday's games play out. Hopefully we can get another win Friday. But yeah, you can use it towards any sport you want. NFL, MLB, doesn't matter. You can mix and match sports over on Prizepicks, but definitely take advantage of promotions like this. Anytime these sites offer them, you want to be taking advantage of these promotions. Prizepicks has a free square up. It won't be up forever. It goes away 7 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday night when that Alabama game starts. So get that while it's still available. And again, if you don't have an account on Prizepicks, be sure to sign up and use promo code NOAH. But yeah, we got 3 props, guys, to talk about for Saturday slate for Week 1. Super excited, man. Excited that the season, I guess, is technically officially here for Week 1. We've had some smaller slates on Week 0, and then we had Thursday's games, Friday's games, but now we've got the full slate of games. We got some big matchups, and I got 3 plays I like for Saturday. So talking through the first prop I like, it's going to be a fantasy score prop, and for those of you that are unaware, Prizepicks, they're a daily fantasy platform. They're not a sports book, so on Prizepicks, you are able to take more or less on a player's fantasy score projection. And if you've ever played fantasy football before, that's basically how fantasy score is calculated. You can click scoring chart right here and see exactly how it's calculated. It's very self-explanatory. Again, if you've ever played any fantasy football league, if you've ever played daily fantasy on DraftKings or FanDuel, it's very similar to the scoring system that those sites use. And there's a couple fantasy score lines that I do like for Saturday. So the first one that I'm liking is Phil Maffa, and we're going to take Phil Maffa for more than 13.5 fantasy score. Now, this is a tough matchup for Clemson going up against Georgia. Obviously, Georgia's one of the best defenses in the league, no doubt. It's not going to be a great matchup here for Maffa, but what we can really bet on for Phil Maffa is volume. He is going to get a ton of carries here. He's probably going to get some usage in the passing game as well. If we look at Phil Maffa's game log last season, he was really good last season. He was very efficient as a runner, averaged nearly 5.5 yards per carry, and he didn't get massive volume last season because he was splitting carries and splitting time with Will Shipley. Will Shipley's now in the NFL, so Phil Maffa, as a senior, he has the opportunity to see a big-time workload this year. You look at the running back depth chart for Clemson, they have a lot of redshirt freshmen, redshirt sophomores behind Maffa. I don't think there's many guys you worry about taking away touches here for Phil Maffa, so I'm expecting a big-time workload for him. And if you look at the 2 games he played last season without Will Shipley, so Will Shipley got injured in the NC State game, and if you look at what Maffa did in that game after Shipley got injured, he had 16 carries for 84 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and then he also had 3 catches for 8 yards. And then in the Notre Dame game, which was without Will Shipley last year, Phil Maffa had 36 carries for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. He didn't have any catches in that game, but 36 carries. So it's a small sample, obviously only 2 games, but in 2 games last season without Will Shipley, Phil Maffa had 16 and 36 carries and then had 3 receptions as well. So I'm expecting big-time volume here. The efficiency might be a concern. I don't think Maffa's going to go out there and run for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, but obviously at this fantasy score projection, we don't need him to do that. If he runs for 70 yards, which he's projected for, that's 7 fantasy points. If he catches a couple passes, let's say he catches 2 passes, that's 2 additional points. If he gets 10, 15 receiving yards, that's another point and a half. And then you got to think about touchdowns. Phil Maffa is definitely a threat to score a touchdown. Anytime Clemson gets near the goal line, you expect the ball to go to Phil Maffa. Phil Maffa did score 4 touchdowns in the 2 games without Will Shipley last season. So I really like this role for Phil Maffa. Again, the matchup obviously could be better. This is definitely not a great matchup, but I do expect a ton of volume here, and that's really what we want to bank on. I think 20 touches is definitely in the range of outcome here for Phil Maffa, and I think he's pretty much game script proof. Even if Clemson's playing with the lead, which they're not projected to be in this game, but if they are playing with the lead, you expect Maffa to be getting a lot of carries. And even if Clemson's playing from behind, which is what the game script is projecting here, they're 11.5-point underdogs. Even if they're playing from behind, I still think you'll see Phil Maffa out there catching passes. They used Will Shipley a lot as a patch catcher last season. Now they don't have Will Shipley. I don't know if they really have many guys in that backfield behind Maffa that they trust in the pass game role. So I think Maffa has a really secure role here, both on the ground and through the air. Another prop that I do like for him is more than 10.5 receiving yards. I think in a game script where Clemson does get behind and are forced to throw, you could definitely see a lot of checkdowns from Phil Maffa. I don't think Phil Maffa is going to come off the field even if Clemson's playing from behind. He's still going to be out there. He's going to be running routes, catching passes. I could definitely see him going over this line on just one catch alone. Like if he gets a screen pass with good blocking, he could easily get 11 receiving yards on one catch. So there's 2 props I like for Phil Maffa, but I think personally the fantasy score prop is what I do like the most here. Just betting on volume over anything. That's what we really can bet on. Efficiency is tough to project. Do you expect Maffa's efficiency to be good in this matchup? No, you don't expect it to be. But then again, Phil Maffa last year against Notre Dame averaged over 5 yards per carry and what was a tough matchup, ran for 186 yards. So he can do it. Like it wouldn't be surprising to see Maffa get 20 carries, average over 5 yards a carry, run for 100+ yards, get into the end zone. That's definitely in the range of outcomes for him. He has shown the ability to be productive when he gets that type of usage, and he should be looking at big-time usage this season with Will Shipley no longer on the team. So that's the first prop I like for Saturday. Next prop I like is a receptions prop, and we're going to look at Eugene Wilson. I like Eugene Wilson for more than 5 receptions. So Eugene Wilson finished this season really strong for Florida. He had at least 6 receptions, and I believe 4, 5, 6, 7 out of their last 8 games. Wilson had at least 6 receptions, so he went over this line in 7 out of their last 8 games last season. The one game where he went under was a very tough matchup against Florida State, who had a great defense last season. This matchup against Miami, I think it's kind of a neutral matchup. Miami's a good team. They're definitely expected to be a lot better offensively this year. We'll have to see how they do defensively. But what I really like here for Eugene Wilson is, once again, I think we can just project him for a lot of volume. He was already getting a lot of volume last season, and that was with him playing alongside Ricky Pearsall, who is also now in the NFL. So Eugene Wilson was pretty much their wide receiver 2 last season, Florida's wide receiver 2. He should step in and fill as the wide receiver 1 this season without Ricky Pearsall. And he's got a good quarterback in Graham Mertz, who's got plenty of experience. Mertz was on the team last season. Mertz is going to be behind center again this season. So I'm not really worried about the quarterback play here for Florida. I think Florida should be able to move the ball down the field against this Miami team. I mean, this game does have a relatively high total, I do believe. Let's see, looking at the total for this Miami and Florida game, it's got a, let's see if I can find it on the list. It's got a, let's see, I'm looking for it. There it is. So it's got, 54.5 total, 2.5 point spread. So this is expected to be kind of a higher scoring game. It's expected to be a close game as well. And again, Eugene Wilson, really talented receiver, was really good last season. Showed a lot of poise, a lot of connection with Graham Mertz. Now not having to fight for targets with Ricky Pearsall, stepping in as the wide receiver 1 this season. I would expect a lot of volume here for Eugene Wilson, and I think 5 receptions, we can at least get a push here, if not 6+ receptions from him. There was actually another prop I was looking at for Eugene Wilson, and it was his fantasy score, but they actually took that off the board. His fantasy score line was 13.5. I did like the over on that, but they took that off the board. I think my next favorite play for Wilson is receptions. You could also look at his receiving yards, but he has shown the ability to rack up receptions even when not getting a lot of yards. He's kind of like a lower A-dot receiver. He doesn't run a ton of deep routes down the field. Like, he's kind of a guy that runs a lot of quick routes, slants. He's a guy that can have only 40 yards, but he could have 7 catches on 40 yards. And you see, looking at his game log, there was 2 games, like against LSU, 63 yards, against Missouri, 23 yards. But if you look at those 2 games for receptions, he had 6 and 7 receptions in those 2 games. So I think I like receptions more here for Eugene Wilson. Just expect a big role for him, a lot of volume. And again, no Ricky Pearsall this season for Florida. He's now in the NFL. So Wilson should step in as the wide receiver 1 and should be looking at a big-time role for Florida this season. So going to take him for more than 5 receptions. And then the third and final prop I like for Saturday, another fantasy score. We're going to look at Jalen Milroe, and I like Jalen Milroe for more than 23.5 fantasy score. Now, if you're going to play the free square, you can't play you can't play the same player twice in one entry. So if you're going to play the free square, you'll have to take this out, or if you want to play this fantasy score, you can't play it with the free square. But let's talk about this fantasy score for Jalen Milroe and why I like this one. So we saw Jalen Milroe last season, posted some really big numbers. He is a dual threat quarterback that offers a lot of rushing upside. He is a very fantasy-friendly quarterback with how he can, rack up points both through the air and on the ground. And you can just look at his projections this week and see that for yourself. You look at Milroe's projections for pass yards, rush yards. He's projected for 245, basically 245 pass yards. He has a 37.5 rush yards prop. And then if you look at his touchdown projections, he's actually pretty heavily favored to throw 2 touchdowns this week. There's a reason his 1.5 passing touchdowns prop is a goblin on Prizepicks, because if you play this, you get a lower payout because it has higher odds to hit. If we look on FanDuel Sportsbook, right now, Jalen Milroe is minus 205 to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns. So he is a heavy favorite to throw 2 touchdowns this week. And then if you look at his odds to score a touchdown, a rushing touchdown, he is minus 470 on FanDuel for an anytime touchdown. So he is heavily favored to get a rushing touchdown as well. And Alabama, anytime they get near the goal line, they actually did this a lot last season. They'll run the tush push, which is something that the Eagles do a lot if you watch the NFL, where they basically, everyone lines up kind of behind the quarterback and then they just push the quarterback in. They do that a lot with Milroe near the goal line. So Milroe has a very high chance to get a rushing touchdown, and he's already projected to throw for 245 yards. He's heavily favored to throw 2 touchdowns. So let's just say Jalen Milroe throws for 225 yards, goes under his pass yards prop. Well, 225 yards would still be 9 fantasy points when you factor in how fantasy score is calculated. And then you got to think rushing yards. Okay, he's projected for 37.5 rush yards. Let's say he only runs for 30 yards and goes under that projection. That's still going to be 3 additional points. So now we're basically projecting him for 12 fantasy points just from yards alone. And then let's think about touchdowns. So he's minus 200 to throw 2 touchdowns. If we project him for 2 touchdowns, that's 8 additional fantasy points. So now he has a fantasy score projection of roughly 20. And then we got to think about rushing touchdown potential. Again, on FanDuel, he is minus 470 for an anytime touchdown. If he gets a rushing touchdown, that's 6 additional points. So now we have a rough projection of about 26 fantasy points for Jalen Milroe. Now, sure, there are definitely ways that this could go bad. Alabama is big favorites at home against Western Kentucky. There's definitely a chance that Jalen Milroe does not play this whole game if Alabama has a big lead. But if Alabama has a big lead and they're able to take Milroe out of the game early, that's probably because Milroe has already put up a big game. And I want to say Milroe last season, he had some huge games, even in the first half. I can't remember what game it was, but I know last season he had a game where he put up 30 fantasy points in the first half alone. He showed a ton of upside last season. Obviously, Western Kentucky defensively, they're going to be no chance to stop this Alabama team. And I expect Alabama to be able to move the ball down the field very efficiently in this matchup. And just with Milroe's potential to score points both through the air and on the ground, he has so much upside for fantasy score. Even in a matchup like this, I still think Milroe has a ton of upside here. I don't know why my Prizepicks glitched out. It's been doing this a ton lately. It's very annoying. If I refresh the page, it's probably not even going to load. So yeah, it's Prizepicks is bugged out. But that's what I've got for Saturday, guys. We're going to take Phil Maffa, more than 13.5 fantasy score. We're going to take Eugene Wilson, more than 5 receptions. We're going to take Jalen Milroe, more than 23.5 fantasy score. Hopefully you guys were able to get that in. If you didn't see it, you can refresh the video, or rewind the video. But my Prizepicks is glitched out right now. If I refresh the page, it's going to ask, am I a bot? I don't know why. I don't know if I'm the only one that has this problem, but I've had this problem for the last week. It's so annoying. But yeah, that's what I got for Saturday, guys. 3 plays for Saturday. If you guys are tailing, good luck. Let's make some money this week. Appreciate you guys watching the video as always. Hit that like button if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And again, go check out Prizepicks, guys. Use that promo code NOAH when you sign up. Get your first deposit, get your first. Once you place your first lineup, you'll instantly get $50 in promo funds. So check out Prizepicks if you have not yet, and use that promo code. But that's all I got for Saturday, guys. Let's make some money this week. Excited for week 1. Excited to be talking college football this year. And yeah, man, it's going to be a ton of fun. Let's make some money this week. I'll see you guys in the next video.